Well, hello everyone, and welcome back to Adrian's Digital Basement 2 Super Mini Mail Call, and let's get right to it. We have a package here, comes from, looks like Yan, out of Jersey City, New Jersey. Hi to all my New Jersey viewers. Let's see what we got here. We have a note, and it looks like we have a freaking Commodore bag. A duffel. Look at that. Wow, that is really quite cool. Let's see what the note reads. It says, "Hi Adrian, please take good care of my vintage German VIC-20 bag. Thanks, Jan." Well, that is awesome. I mean, what is there to say other than it's a Commodore freaking duffel bag. And yeah, with the VIC-20 colors. Okay, let's see. How is it footprint-wise? I happen to have what looks like a VIC-20 here, but this is actually just my ZIF 64. And we'll just pop this into the bag. And I mean, okay, well, maybe if I change it to the camera view, you could see better. There it is, the camera's, I mean, the bag is in there. The computer is in the bag. It works, but I mean, it's, you know, you need some packing materials and stuff. But I suppose you could load up all your goody Commodore stuff in here and I freaking love it. It is so awesome. Stuff like this that's actually vintage from the 80s, probably pretty rare. On the bottom here, it's got little feet. And the condition of this bag is actually in, well, frankly, amazing condition. There's like no mold or anything in it. That's all there is to really say about it, other than it's freaking awesome. Thanks, Jan, for that. I really love it. Alrighty, the next package here comes from Mark in Custer, Washington, as in Washington State, just north of us here in Portland. It's probably only 10-minute drive for me to get to Washington State because it's across the Columbia River. I'm not completely familiar with where Custer, Washington is though. 98240 is the zip code. So that's probably further up north. We are 9.7, in the low 9.7s here in the Portland area. Okay, inside here we got a bunch of stuff, including a note. Oh, right, okay, I remember this. I've had this package a while. We have manuals for the Southwest Technical Products Corporation 6800. Wow, freaking great. Hi Adrian, I really enjoyed watching your videos on refurbishing the Southwest Technical Products Corporation 6800 computer system. SWTPC, I think is the way people abbreviated that. 50 years ago, when I was 16, I broke my leg, and while recovering, my dad got me the 6800 kit. Now remember, the Southwest Technical Products Corporation machine came out in 1975, so it wasn't quite 50 years ago, because I was born in 75 as well, and that is the year that it came out, but I'm 48 now, so basically 48 years ago. He also got me the PR10 printer, an AC30 cassette interface, and the 1024 terminal kit, which I think is like the video terminal kit that SWTPC made. Of course, after soldering all the components, it did not work, but it didn't take much to figure out I had made a mistake or two to get it working. I then spent the next 2 years learning about computers, programming in assembly language, BASIC, and even a little Fortran. Because of that, I subsequently got my bachelor's degree in computer science, and the rest is history. 25 years ago, in a moment of stupidity, I tossed the hardware, but I kept the documentation, and I'd like you to have it. That is great. Keep up the great work, Mark. Thank you, Mark. Yeah, I mean, we all did that. I had all my old computers, nothing like this, but I had my VIC-20 and all these other PCs and Apples and Amigas and stuff. All of it's gone. I didn't hold on to anything. That might be like the odd PC component I have. I think I have like one 3.5-inch disk drive that is original from like the early 90s when I worked at a computer store, but nothing else was kept. And that's just kind of how it goes. So it's really interesting that you kept the documentation, because all of the documentation, all my disks that had all my files, I had like journals and diaries and stuff were on disks, all gone. I don't have anything, no printouts, nothing. It's as if it never happened. So it's sort of sad in a way, you know, well, I'm better about digital archiving now, stuff that's publicly, you know, necessary to be shared. It goes up on archive.org. I hope that they survive, but BitSavers exist as well. But for my own personal like record keeping stuff, of course, I keep it as well locally, and I have cloud storage backups and stuff like that. So hopefully it's in enough places that, you know, even if I were to lose the physical copies of things or like the hard drives, there would be backup copies. Well, obviously it wasn't as easy back then because we had disks and we didn't really have hard drives to store things on. We didn't really know about long-term archiving, not to mention back on the old days when I had my Apple IIs and I had a lot of stuff on those, like journals and things. Well, once I got PCs, there was really no way for me to copy those Apple II disks onto the PC hard drives. So I was kind of stuck. In fact, it's funny because somewhere up on the shelf above me, my brother sent me a couple Apple II floppy disks that he had from when he was a kid. He has some stuff on there and he wanted to ask me if I could try to recover the data for him and get it to somewhere like somehow he could use it modern on a modern computer. This appears to be a really cool, no, sorry about the glare there, a really awesome little catalog for the Southwest Technical Products Corporation. I mean, there's the machine. It's upstairs. I keep it in my office. It's on a shelf on display because it's such a cool looking computer. I still haven't gone ahead and made this front trim here. Someone in town here is going to help me do it. I just need to order the aluminum angle iron or whatever it's called, and we're just going to cut it and screw it in just to complete the look. It's a little beat up, the computer I have, but honestly, considering it's well, as old as me, it's pretty amazing the condition that it is in. So I think right here is the terminal that Mark mentioned as well, the 1024, and it's missing its top cover, which is sort of like a white plastic, but you hooked up your television set and yeah, it allowed you to use it as a serial terminal for your Southwest Technical Products Corporation computer. Because unlike the Altair, which came out around the same time, it didn't have switches on the front, so you couldn't bootstrap it or whatever. You had to use your computer or terminal, that is, to write little assembly language programs or like jump to instructions and things like that. It was kind of ahead of its time in that way. So Southwest Technical Products Corporation was based out of San Antonio, Texas. Their address is down at the bottom right here. And they had a whole line of stuff. So it looks like they had a preamp. So motherboard, construction, self-powered, will work for any preamp. So audio type components. This one here is called the Tigersaurus. The most powerful amplifier we make for those who want beastly amounts of power. 250 watts into 4 ohms. $154 PPD. And I'm wondering if that means it was the plans and the parts and you still had to build it yourself, kind of like Heathkit. Looks like these are amplifiers as well, audio amplifiers that is. Looks like 60 watts into 4 or 6 ohms. Universal Tiger B, so these are all more their amps. Wow, look at the like awesome display on that thing. Check those out. That looks really cool. Really, really cool. 25 watts per channel on that one. We have the Little Tiger, 15 watts per channel. I mean, the price is getting cheaper and cheaper, $11.95. And look at this, at last, stereo octave equalizer for $99. I think that is, oh, that's the kit. Maybe PPD means it is assembled? Circuit board and parts. No, that's definitely not assembled. I don't know what that means. We have a guitar amp, a multiplex adapter, 6 input mixer, reverb adapter, preamp, function generator for $38.95. A universal digital instrument, time-based divider and mainframe. Psychedelic strobe light, theremin, a musical instrument. That's cool. I didn't even know they really made all this stuff. Ah, look at this, the DigiViewer 2. I'll zoom in on this. So this allowed you to clip onto a 74LS chip and it would like show you with LEDs what was actually happening on the logic chip. So probably help you identify if you have dead gates and things like that. Looks like they sold a keyboard and encoder here. 56 keys, automatic repeat, 1 chip ASCII encoder. I think you could probably use something like this with the Apple II Plus as well. Although, well, we'll have to see if we can figure out a year on this thing to see if that was indeed the case. And here it is. There's the 6800 computer system, and there it is with the top cover entirely removed and the front and the back panels as well. $395. Computer system kit, as described above. If you wanted a memory upgrade from 2K to 4K, it was an extra $45. And general purpose serial interface option was $35. You really needed the serial board. It might have come with the serial board. I mean, it really needed to, right? Anyhow, oh yeah, there it is. CT1024 terminal kit configured for the Southwest Technical Products 6800, $275 additional. And you had to then hook it up to a television set, but then you could use your computer. There it is, the CT1024 alphanumeric terminal system. So this is what we saw on the front cover there. Hooked up to a little television there, and yeah, this is like the early days. You know, this stuff wasn't like common or anything. You know, that's why the Altair used those switches on the front, because people didn't always have a terminal to, you know, be able to do stuff. So what's this thing here? The GT6144 terminal system. It's a graphic terminal system that displays graphic data on a slightly modified black and white television or standard video monitor. The terminal has its own 6144-bit static RAM memory to limit the need to use a specific computer system. The terminal will operate with any computer whose parallel interface outputs 8-bit data bus, blah, 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 8088 ready, or 6800. It says here that the graphics were 64 by 96 high. So obviously it's using some kind of ASCII characters and stuff there to generate the graphics. But yeah, pretty fancy at the time, wasn't it? And indeed, it's saying here that you can use it with your television that you would also use with your CT1024. In fact, control commands from your computer allow you to display graphic CT1024 alphanumeric or even a combination of the two on the same display. Fancy. Now here's the AC30 cassette interface, and this allows you to connect up your cassette player or recorder to the computer so you could load and save programs. It uses this like Motorola format to do it, and it's not super efficient, but it works. I think this runs at 110 bits per second, maybe? Oh no, it says it runs at 300 baud, so yeah, pretty fancy. An extra 79 bucks, and it was this pretty big box, but it basically is like a modem, and except it does audio in and out to a cassette player. And according to this, it says PR40 printer, which is this. I thought this was like a telephone or something. In fact, here's a color photograph of it. What the heck? Yeah, so I see the ribbon on there, and obviously, I guess it's a dot matrix printer. Look at the, it's like, it's so funny looking. It really is funny looking. And it's a kit, so you assembled it yourself. That is so freaking cool. 5x7 dot matrix impact printer. Similar in operation to the well-known Centronics printers. It prints 64-character uppercase ASCII sent with 40 characters per line at a rate of 75 lines per minute on standard 3 7/8 inch wide rolls of adding machine paper. So this printed on like little like thin strips of paper and just, yeah, I mean, but you know what? It's better than having no printer at all. There it is. New! You have that graphic capability. This was 25 cents to get this. Let's see. Do we see a date anywhere on here? There is no date. So I have no idea when this is from. That is freaking nice. It's in great condition too, though. That's very cool. All right, well, we got all sorts of books here. I'm going to move some of these off to the side here. So this, obviously, is the manual, and it's very heavy for the 6800 System Documentation Notebook software. Wow. It's like going back in time. Now there may be, oh look, Smoke Signal Broadcasting Disk System. Remember I did a video on one of their cards. Interesting. Like this is a printout here on a later dot matrix printer. SSB Disk System Reference Manual. Is this for the card that I have? I'm not sure this stuff is even scanned. Well, I have a sheet feeder scanner, so I'm definitely going to scan this stuff. Well, if it's not already on BitSavers, that is. It's interesting here. It's talking about that to use 8-inch disk drives, you need to have a minimum clock speed of 1.65 megahertz, and that the 6800 PC runs at a normal 1 megahertz. And it says here that you can get some Smoke Signal Broadcasting Chieftain accelerator, I guess, or it's a new CPU card, probably 2 megahertz. But you can modify the MPA CPU board, which is what's in my computer, to operate at 1.8 megahertz as follow. You cut some traces, you connect a jumper. Is there anything else you even have to do? Is it that simple? And it looks like that's it. And then you have to modify the MPA2, which I think might be a serial board, by changing the capacitor, around 30 picofarad. The exact value should be determined experimentally in a low temperature coefficient, blah, blah, blah. Whoa, that's so cool how it's like, overclock your system. This is in like, the late 70s here. Well, anyhow, it's hard to determine exactly what disk card this is. Now, they made a couple different disk cards, and I don't know if the one that I have is this one or not. It starts out right here, though, just saying Disk System Reference Manual, and in the front here, it just says Disk System. And then right off the bat, there's a printout here of all the, I don't know, whatever those are, jump routines and stuff. DOS 68 programming guide, sequential file access. We do have schematics. Let's jump right to the schematics. Oh, there they are. Look at that. Like I said, I have no idea. Okay, well, I can tell right off the bat, this is not the card I have. This is a later one. The reason why is it has the connector here that connects into the motherboard of the system, and then it's got these large connectors here to go to the disk drives. I think like 8-inch drive and maybe 2 different sets of 5¼ inch. The one I have, I'm pretty sure, only has a single connector on it, and it's the earlier card that I have. I think this is the later card. Either way, this may not be scanned, so I will definitely, like I said, I'll be scanning this in and uploading this to archive.org, and then the BitSaver folks, hopefully they grab it and they move it over to like BitSavers as well, in case archive.org goes away. And here we have what looks like a power supply, outputs 24 volts, 5 volts, and -5 volts. Don't know what that's for. And here's text editing system manual. So again, I'll scan this stuff. So this company, Smoke Signal Broadcasting, did make software as well. And I think that's what this is. This is like their fancy text editor. Mnemonic assembler, yeah. So you could do assembly language programming on your Southwest Technical Products computer. CCS, Computerware Software Services. We sell capabilities. XREF, cross-reference table generator for the 6800 programs. XREF is a program that reads assembly language source file and creates files from it in a table of all symbolic references encountered in the source file. Okay, so it's just like a tool to help you with your assembly language. DFB68, disk file basic. Microware A basic compiler. And we have the A basic source generator as well. And then we have Computerware trace disassembler. So disassembler for the system. Now what's interesting is like, what isn't in here is the original 68,000 documentation. We do have some original manual or user's guide for the Southwest Technical Products Corporation 8K Basic. I think this is archived. I kind of remember reading this. If not, I'll do some research on each one of these and then scan them in. Oh, and then we have a 4K basic manual as well. So yes, they had an entire basic interpreter that could fit into 4K. Now remember, with these computers, you didn't have basic in ROM. It had a tiny little ROM. It just had enough to do some very simple like assembly language input into your computer. That was it. You could like jump to routines and stuff. You could potentially get basic in ROM, maybe with an add-on board, and then you could just boot it up and like jump to that location that would start executing it. But generally you have to load basic off of a tape, paper tape, or off a cassette tape or a disk drive, and then you could start using it. So 4K basic has to reside in RAM, and so is 8K basic. So the bigger the basic is, the more or less RAM you have available. This has 1976 as a date code, and this one, 8K basic 2.3, has a 1978 copyright there. And we have another manual for the same basic. So that's interesting. It's just like, oh no, it looks different. There is no question. Our computer is a bore. Huh. Supplies the missing link, the AC30 cassette interface. Well, what's the difference here? User's guide versus, oh, wait. Yeah, 8K basic user's guide, okay. And then we have another 4K user guide as well. And then we have, yes, the trace disassembler, and then we have SSB SmartBug, an intelligent monitor. So I'm thinking that this was a ROM replacement for the computer that would boot up into a more capable ROM monitor when you first turn it on. That's what it boots up into. And yeah, SmartBug. So this replaces SWTPC, which is the Southwest Technical Products Corporation monitor, which is SWTPC. And then there's a Motorola one, which I forgot the name of it off the top of my head. Anyhow, cool. A bunch of cool manuals. Like I said, there could be some stuff that's not scanned and not archived, so I will definitely be doing that. If you've seen anything so far that you know for sure is not archived, let me know, and I will prioritize the scanning of that. That's funny. There's like a burn here. So let's see what we got here. I wonder if this was like a soldering iron. A soldering iron was placed on this. The CoRes assembler disassembler package. And then we have SWTPC 6800 Resident Editor and Assembler MPE. Now these would be pieces of software that actually was made by Southwest Technical Product Corporation, I think. Notice to users of Southwest Technical Products paper and cassette tapes, in order to help reduce the time necessary to load programs, the longer tape supplied will be furnished with a binary level format instead of the conventional ASCII. At the beginning of each, there's a loader. Yeah, what happens is it loads a little piece, like a little program, then you execute that, and then you can load the rest of the tape much faster. Paper tape is only designed to have letters on it. Like, it doesn't support every character. So to load a program or save a program, it has to take like your binary program and convert that into ASCII characters, essentially. Tapes can support, you know, any character, all, you know, any byte can be saved on the tape. So to speed up the process, you don't need that conversion. But what happens with the way the tape loader works, the AC30, is you hit play on it, and like I said, it's like a modem. It just types in to the computer as if you were typing on the keyboard, or a paper tape reader, which does the same thing, it just types on the keyboard. So what happens is you do that loader and you run it, and then the keyboard input, or over the serial port that is just expecting binary data, actual bytes, and that's what this is talking about. So that's kind of fun. Looks like we have the co-editor editor assembler manual, another one, MPE. I think it's just photocopies maybe of the same thing, potentially. Tired of the software vacuum? Need software to feed your 6800? We've got it. There are games. Hangman. I should make this closer so everyone can see it. Hangman, AC Doocy, Craps, floating point package, full floating point capability. That's right. I think the original BASIC that was on this thing didn't support floating point, or if it did, it was like very imprecise. With some additional software here, stock market, line editor, random number generator. Only needs 60 bytes, cost $1.50. Mastermind, card shuffle, number guess, Chomp. Here's a game for $10, Space Voyage, similar to the famous Star Trek game, which honestly got ported to every single computer possible. Also, Klingon Capture, a smaller space simulator game, but with same as, it only needs 2K of RAM, and the other one needs 8K, the Star Trek clone. And the Klingon one is cheaper. Looks like we have instructions for South Tetra Products Corporation Tic-Tac-Toe program, Tic-Tac-1. I guess my assumption is you had to type this all in. This is, I don't know. Wow. Did you just have to like type this program in? Is this how it came, or was it on tape, or what exactly? But it looks like there's pencil writing here of like converting every 2 digits here, every byte, into some instruction. So, and as you can see, there's multiple pages here. This is when, you know, we had more patience, because if you didn't do this, you wouldn't have a game to run. Wow, 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 wow. And it looks like right here, this is the Klingon Capture, Klingon Capture, the game I talked about. And this is the actual assembly language. So you could just type this in as well. And once it was typed in, then you could save it all to your tape, paper tape or otherwise. And this was a very tedious way of typing in programs. And yeah, wow. Oh, and then look at this. Okay, so this, if we zoom in here and I move this into the view of the camera, this is what it actually looks like. These are the records. Now, if you watch my videos on the computer, you'll remember this, because I was loading programs over the serial port, and it uses this format. I forgot the name of this. It's like a Motorola S record format, I think it's called. And each line starts with an S and has a 1, and there's a checksum. And these are all the characters, basically. It's like, they're the bytes of data, basically, and that's why everything is just, you know, 00, EF, B0, et cetera, et cetera. It's just, it is hexadecimal representation of the entire program. But since every byte takes 2 characters as opposed to just 1, like the single byte, it's quite inefficient. Plus there's all the checksum characters, plus these extra letters at the front. So your slow program loading was that much slower to load. So if you use the binary loader, I think you could like speed up your loading times basically at least twice as fast. And look at this. This is the actual Klingon program running, I think. Scanning, detect enemy in galaxy. You have 14 shots to capture the Klingon spaceship. And then it would print this little map. And this was completely mind-blowing and super fun. I've never played this, but I would imagine back in the day when you had your very expensive kit computer and you got it doing this, it's pretty damn cool. All right, we're still going. We got this big purple binder here. Let's zoom out a little bit. What do we got? Maybe this is the stuff that was in that yellow binder that was taken out. The EPROM Programmer's User Guide. This is the MPR. So yeah, you could program 2716 from Intel. And how freaking awesome. So with a ROM board and this board, the MPR, you could make your own ROM code, so you could write your own program, save it in that ROM, stick it in the ROM board, and then your computer could like not boot up straight to it, but then you could just execute, jump right to it. You could put those games in there and stuff like that. Of course, takes away from the address space. You only have 64 kilobytes, just like a 6502, since the 68,000 is like the ancestor of that chip. And, you know, but maybe with a little clever circuitry, you could make some bank switching or whatever, using like a register somewhere in there. You could do bank switching, things like that. That was all possible with this type of system. And of course, it was all designed for you to do it yourself. The whole computer was a kit. And it looks like this was a kit as well. I see there's stuff like checked off here. And there it is a picture of the board. So that is the SS30 connector. That's the smaller slots that are on the system. There are two different types of slots. Very simple design. I can't imagine this costs that much. And there you go. Make your own EPROMs. Of course, they would give you the software to do it, which you probably had to type in. And then you would want to save it to a ROM, program it into an EPROM. And then that way it would be easier to use in the future. You wouldn't have to do it each time. Of course, they gave you the schematics because that's just how it was back then. Right to repair wasn't really a thing because you assumed whenever you bought something that you had the right to repair it. Well, here's a little addendum. I'm going to edit this into the video so it won't seem out of order. But when I was cleaning up and I was getting rid of the boxes or getting rid of the packing material and then the boxes, I always double check to make sure everything inside the boxes is just packing material to be recycled or whatever. And I found that Mark had sent out a card with the manuals actually. So let's take a look at this card. It actually is that EPROM programmer card. I guess it's the one piece of hardware that was actually saved from that whole machine. So big chunky cap. Motorola IC, this is probably like a parallel IO type IC or something. And then we have a ZIF socket right here for sticking your 2716 into, and then you can program it right in place. What I do not know, and I guess I could look at the hand soldering job here. What I will have to take a look at is, can you then use this EPROM as ROM inside the machine? I doubt it, probably not. It could probably read it back to verify that it's programmed correctly, but you probably can't use it. So without a ROM board, which I don't actually have, there's no way to really use these directly, but it could be that Mark used this programmer for other computers in the future, like other Commodores or whatever, and use this board. Pretty cool how simple this is for an EPROM programmer. That's pretty cool. All right, yes, now this appears to be the system checkout instructions. Now this stuff is definitely archived. I did read through this. If you were building your kit computer, the 6800 itself, you would follow this. So you'd build the MPA, which I think is the system board, or maybe that's the CPU card. Or no, B is the motherboard. A, I think, was the CPU card that plugged in the motherboard. Anyways, it would walk you through the entire process and look, check, 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 check. I mean, freaking awesome. That is just, what a time to be alive. What a time. And look, yeah, assembly instructions for the motherboard, the printed circuit board assembly, all this stuff was ticked off like 48 years ago. Building this thing up, like, oh, that's just so awesome. Look, we have the memory map of the computer right there. Just super cool. Assembly instructions for the MPA, so that's the CPU board, including this very nice kind of circuit trace diagram with two different colors to show you the front and back of the board, red and the blue. And take a look at this. I zipped right over this, but all these components as they were installed on the board were circled, I guess. As Mark assembled this thing, he would have had to, you know, make sure that he just kept track of what he was doing. Oh, I love it. I freaking love it. We have the system board schematics. So yeah, this is all the stuff that would have been inside that yellow binder, I guess. Yeah, I think it's got like 3 hole punch there. So this would have been in there. We have some more schematics. I assume this one is for the motherboard. Oh, this looks like it got taped together. Yep, look at that. Really cool. Looks like a photocopy, maybe an enlargement or something. If I recall, this is a little power distribution board. It's got the connector that goes off to something. I forgot, the motherboard, I think. And the fuse. You had to build every component of it. There it is. There is the motherboard diagram. That's just super cool. So cool. Assembly instructions for the motherboard itself. Got more circuit diagrams. Here's the serial board. You needed this to talk to your terminal. So those are the assembly instructions there. And some circuit diagrams as well. So this is good. I can actually restore this back to the yellow binder, and I'll put that stuff in the purple binder probably. I'd like to keep at least the real documentation for this machine in the correct binder. This looks like the RAM board. I can just tell by the RAM there. MPM memory board. Indeed, I think that's definitely what's in my machine. We've got some stuff here. MPM. There it is. There is the thing to help you troubleshoot it. That is freaking great. And then we have the MPX memory expansion kit. I forgot what this does. I think it like upgrades the RAM on your board. So Mark was clearly all in on this machine. What is this talking about here? MPX memory expansion kit. Okay, yeah. You know, and why not? It was expensive. Computers were very expensive back in the day. And when you got one of these, as lucky as he was, that, I mean, yeah, it's just so cool. The ecosystem did develop here and then it all kind of went away. These were the early days, and then the Apple II and the TRS-80 Model 1 and of course the PET 2001 all came out. And that sort of revolutionized things a little bit where you didn't need to build the whole kit like this. You just bought the machine, plugged it in and turned it on. If you think about the PET, it literally just turned on straight into basic, monitor, keyboard, everything was just there. It was just ready to go. All the various components you needed for this were just a couple years earlier, like the terminal and the cassette interface and a cassette drive. That was all extra stuff that just came with the PET or the TRS-80 Model 1. You did have to plug those peripherals in, but it was all pre-built. There was no kit for them. And then, of course, the Apple II, which came out in '77, which, honestly, you use an Apple II in 1987, if it was a 2E, it's going to be basically the same. By '87, I don't really think many people were using a computer like this any longer. Alrighty, we have more. There's the parallel interface assembly instruction, and there's the card. The machine I have has one of those as well. There's weird how there's like doubled up instructions in here. I don't know why that is. Looks like there's 3 copies of the parallel card assembly instructions in here. And here is schematics for the power supply. And looks like parts list. And this is to help you build the thing with the transformer and the large capacitor, the filter caps. How to wire it all up. You had to do it yourself. You didn't want to like cause it to destroy your brand new, very expensive computer. You know, this, it was like amazing. Like people who literally had no experience building this stuff would be building them. The CT64, right. Okay, this is the one I was thinking of that has this white plastic case. Maybe the 1024 didn't have that. Let's see. Look at this RS-232 pinout. That cool dual color schematic here. I think it looks so, that's so cool. It's so easy to follow like that. Power supply assembly board. I'm assuming this is for the terminal. And yeah, this looks like it's not the computer anymore. And I'm unfamiliar with the terminal. I've never used it. There's the keyboard encoder manual, the one we talked about. I guess that's what's used inside of the terminal. And if we flip this over, there it is, the CT1024 terminal system. So the instructions for that, maybe that thing actually didn't have a top cover. It just was bare like that? Or were you supposed to build it out of wood? Interesting. So there's assembly instructions, testing, schematics. Obviously this worked. Oh, look at that. Color code for the resistors. Very cool. Looks like the CT64. We have 128 characters, scrolling or page mode operation, works with any 8-bit computer, reverse background text with highlighting. That kit was $325, and then a monitor to go with it, a cool looking monitor. Check this out. Look at that. It's freaking awesome looking. That monitor cost 175 bucks. Wow, this just keeps going. There's more and more. So this is for the audio interface for the, or the modem for the cassette drive, the AC30. So yes, it was a kit. You had to build it yourself as well. I mean, this is just wild. Just imagine buying a computer and it was only a kit. That was the only way you could get this thing. Couldn't even buy it assembled. Now the Altair started as a kit as well, but then you could buy it assembled, and I think most people ended up buying it that way. We have, this is for the tape interface. We have the schematics for it. Really cool. Really cool to see these old documents that they're like vintage and period correct and go exactly with the system. Like this is what Mark used to build the computer back in the day. We have some schematics here with a UART. I'm not sure. Oh, this is the serial interface board for the terminal. So that's what plugs into the terminal. We saw it in the picture there and gives it serial capability. I think without this, the whole point of the thing was you could just type on the screen and that was it. So the serial added the functionality so you could actually use it with your computer, but without it, it was just a way to like type text onto a television set, which I suppose is useful. Like if you were in a hotel and you want to, you know, say welcome guests or whatever. Looks like we got more stuff for the CT1024 there. And we're nearly to the end. I think this is the last one. Oh, it's the printer. Printer instructions. Yeah, I mean, this talks about how it works, how all the stuff, all the parts for it. There's a little bit of information here on the GT6144 as well. I wonder if Mark had this. But here is the wiring diagram for the printer, the PR40. So it's very similar to the computer. PR40 wiring diagram. Here's the schematic for the printer itself. Pretty simple stuff. And it looks like the control board schematic, or, you know, the circuit layout, and a little addendum. And that is it. That's all the manuals. It's still a big stack. And as I mentioned, it's going to need a lot of scanning, or at least verification that it has been or has not been scanned, and then a lot of scanning on my part. So thank you very much, Mark, for sending in, let me grab the stuff on the floor here, for sending in all these manuals for this awesome Southwest Technical Products Corporation 6800 computer. That's just really cool to have something to go with that thing. I normally am not a big fan of manuals and stuff, but for something that's actually historic like this computer is, it's really awesome to have these. And these are absolutely something that will stay with this machine so that, you know, if it ever is passed on from me to someone else, they will have this original 48-year-old documentation. Alrighty, for the next package, this comes from Tyler in Winchester, Indiana. Hi to all my Indiana viewers. As you can see, this thing is, it's big. So I think I'm just gonna stick it on the floor because it's really heavy as well, and open it there, and I'll just lift the stuff onto the bench one by one. All right, in the box is a note and something that is very well packed in here. All right, so the note here. Hello, Adrian. I love the channel. Keep up the good work. This stuff brings me back so many memories of my childhood growing up in the 80s. The C64 Laser 128 Apple clone. I also had the opportunity to enjoy this TRS-80 Model 4P, which I am donating to you. Unfortunately, comes with a bit of a nasty fault. As I mentioned in the emails, one day back as I powered it on, the machine puffed out nasty smelling smoke and then was placed into long-term storage. I hope you can breathe some new life into it. If you should happen to post content on the repair of the machine, I'm certainly looking forward to it. But even if that doesn't happen, I know you will be more than capable than I would to get some good use from it. The tamper sticker is still on it, so I don't believe anyone has ever been inside this machine beyond the factory. I hope it makes it to you undamaged and fully repairable. Happy retro computing, Tyler. Thank you, Tyler. Now, the thing is that's funny is people may be thinking, I already saw a 4P repair on the channel. And yes, that was not this one. That was another one that was sent in by Seth from Tampa. And the one that Seth sent me was sort of, well, separate than this one. And I remember talking to Tyler about this, and Tyler said, you had this and you know what I like? And I said, oh, absolutely. I didn't have a 4P at the time. Well, that was all before I got the one from Seth. So I ended up with two of them, and hopefully I can get this thing working, which I'm sure I will be able to. In fact, you know, most likely the problem is just the reefa cap. And in that case, then we'll have to figure out what to do with the second one. Well, the machine appears to be completely unscathed. There was a good amount of packing material around it. And yep, lots of foam and stuff in the box. Let me try to get this thing extricated from the plastic wrap. Alrighty, there it is. Oh, I forgot how heavy this thing is. Oh, that's the bottom. I need to flip it around. It's a portable machine, everyone. It's portable. And it only weighs like an absolute ton. Let's get it open. Move my drink out of the way here. All right, the front cover should come off. And it does. All right, inside the front cover, power cable, which kind of like you just push it around into the channel around there. Got some discs. And then we have the computer here, which if I lift it up, there it is. And it has the keyboard on the bottom. I mean, if you watch my other 4P repair videos, I think I had a couple because that machine had more faults than just needing a reefa cap, which is probably what this thing is gonna need. All right, check it out. This is the computer here. And I've switched to my phone, so I'm capturing from it. It's in good shape. Let's see what's in here. A couple discs. And that's just a Sony one there. It's good, it keeps the heads from banging around. I must have asked Tyler to do that. We got the keyboard in here, which is nice because it's got a piece of foam in there to keep it from banging around inside. So that was in there. You can see how it pushed into the keys for a good long time. Now it's in pretty nice shape though. I gotta say the keyboard's not particularly yellowed or anything. I think I'm just gonna give this thing a try and we'll see if it turns on. I mean, I'm sure it's the reefer that blew, and that's what the smoke show was back in the day when Tyler last used it. Now, a refresher for anyone who is not super familiar with the TRS-80 line of computers, this is the 4P, which is basically the portable version of the TRS-80 Model 4, which is a version of the TRS-80 Model 1 that's evolved a little bit. The TRS-80 Model 1 turned into the 3, which was basically all the same computer, except it was an all-in-one, as opposed to like separate components, a little bit better improved hardware, but fully software compatible. The Model 4 was fully compatible with the Model 1 and 3, but also had a new Model 4 mode, which had up to 128K with some bank switching, full CPM support. The older ones didn't support it. And same case otherwise, all in one. And then they came out with the 4P, which is this portable version. And this is even more evolved than the original Model 4. I don't remember, I've already forgot the specifics. Like you needed to boot a special disk to switch between the different modes, if I recall, or maybe it loaded the ROM or something. But plugging this in should at least result in some kind of an image that has a message of some kind. And I do have some disks that should be able to boot this thing. Okay, the power is connected to the back. Here we go. Sounds like it's just working. It's running, the fans are going, disks are loading. There it is. Oh, that's really bright as well. Now, something smells like it's burning. So, okay. Well, we saw it work. That needs some indefinite more investigation to figure out what was wrong there. Definitely that like bit of a burning smell, but that could be leftover reefer. There could be another fault though. I'm amazed though that did seem to work normally and the logic is running, obviously. That's better than I could say for the other one that I fixed. But yeah, okay, well cool. Well, this will be a future project. The machine looks like it's in very good shape cosmetically. It's a little like scuffed here or there, a little bit of yellowing, of course, because, well, that's just what happens with these. But otherwise, looking really good. So thanks very much, Tyler, for sending in this Model 4P. You probably watched the last repair series and were like, hey, what the heck? But that's just par for the course, unfortunately, with me. Sometimes these machines, my mail call packages kind of sit around and I don't open them all in the sequential order. So I'm not sure if you sent this one in before Seth did, but definitely when you emailed me about this thing, I didn't know about the one from Seth yet, so I told you yes. Otherwise, I try to tell people, if you email me and ask me about donations, if I already have something or multiples of them, I usually say no to the donations just because, you know, I'd like this stuff to go to other people, for instance, like other YouTubers who would be good at, you know, repairing this stuff and enjoying them. Awesome machine, 4P is a great computer. If you're looking to get into the TRS-80 line of computers, the 8-bit Z80 ones, I do recommend this one. It's small and compact. I think they're pretty reliable. It just doesn't look quite as cool as the bigger brothers, especially the Model 3, which is my favorite TRS-80. In fact, that one stays upstairs in the living room on display. I have a little sideboard and the computer sits there and looks freaking awesome. This one doesn't look quite as neat just because, well, it was built a little bit later and they just weren't doing as good a job as they were originally. But anyways, and actually that's going to be it for this mail call episode as well. So thanks to everyone who sent stuff in for this episode. That was Mark with the Southwest Hakko Products PC manuals and stuff like that. And then Jan, who sent in that awesome Commodore bag all the way from Germany. And then Tyler for sending in this Model 4P. If you like this video, thumbs up. If you didn't, you know what to do. Thanks to my patrons. Their names are scrolling off the side of the screen. If you want to become a patron, you could do so with the link in the description below. They get early access to videos and behind the scenes stuff like that. And all the usual YouTube junk, you know, subscribe, thumbs up, blah, 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 etc., etc. And that's going to be that. So stay healthy, stay safe, and I will see you next time. Bye.